On my birthday, my grandfather asked about my $4.2 million trust fund, and that's when my parents' faces changed. My wealthy grandfather stood up, raised his glass, and smiled like he was proud of me. The room was warm, full of food smells and soft music. Everyone was laughing. Then he looked straight at me and said, calm and clear, "So, how are you enjoying your $4.2 million trust fund?" I laughed. I truly thought it was a joke. But his eyes did not laugh. "What trust fund?" I asked. The room went silent, like someone had pressed a mute button. My parents froze. My mother's face turned white. My father's mouth opened, but no words came out. My grandfather's smile disappeared. He slowly turned to them, still holding his glass. "Where," he asked quietly, "did the money go?" I felt my heart thump hard. My hands started to shake under the table. I looked at my parents, waiting for them to laugh and explain. They did not laugh. They did not explain. My mother swallowed like she could not breathe. My father stared at his plate like the answer might be hiding in the mashed potatoes. My grandfather's voice stayed calm, but it sounded sharp like ice. "I set it up when she was a baby," he said. "I checked it last year, it was there." My mother whispered, "Dad, please." That one word told me everything. Please was not an answer. Please was fear. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to shout. But I could not move. I could only think one thing. If the money was real, and I never got it, then someone took it. And the only people close enough to take it were the two people sitting right next to me. My grandfather leaned forward and asked again, "Tell me the truth, tonight." My father's hands were trembling. Then he pushed his chair back a little, just an inch, like he wanted to run. That was when I knew my life had been built on a lie. And right then, before anyone could speak, my grandfather reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. He placed it on the table in front of my parents. My mother stared at it like it was a snake. My grandfather said, "Open it." My father did not move. My grandfather's eyes stayed on him. "Open it now." My father's fingers touched the envelope, and I could see a corner of paper inside. I could see printed numbers. I could see my name. My stomach dropped. What was in that envelope? Before my father could open it, I heard my mother's chair scrape the floor. She stood up too fast, and her glass tipped over. Water spilled across the table like a little flood. Her hands flew to her mouth. "I need air," she said, and her voice sounded thin and broken. She turned and hurried toward the hallway, like she might throw up. My father stayed seated, but he looked like he might faint. My grandfather did not follow my mother. He did not even blink. He just watched my father and said, "If you lie to me, you will lose more than money." I looked at the faces around the table. Some people looked confused. Some looked uncomfortable. My aunt's eyes were wide. My cousin stared at me like I was the one who had done something wrong. I wanted to ask 100 questions, but no sound came out. So I did the only thing I could do. I stood up slowly and followed my mother into the hallway. The music from the dining room sounded far away now. My shoes were quiet on the floor. My chest felt tight. I reached the hallway corner and saw my mother by the coat closet, shaking. She did not see me. She was whispering into her phone. Her voice was low, but I heard the words that made my blood turn cold. "We need to move what's left," she said. "Tonight, before he checks again." I froze in the shadows, and my hands curled into fists. "What's left? Move it where?" And then she said the next line, the line that made me realize this was not just a mistake. It was a plan. I stayed frozen behind the hallway wall after my mother ended the call. My heart was beating so loud I was sure she could hear it. She wiped her face, took a deep breath, and walked back toward the dining room like nothing had happened. I waited until she was gone before I moved. My legs felt weak as I went outside into the night air. The cool breeze hit my face, but it did not calm me. My head was full of questions that hurt to think about. What's left meant there was less than before. Move it meant hiding it. And tonight meant now, before anyone could stop them. I leaned against the wall and tried to breathe. Growing up, we never lived like rich people. We moved a lot. We always rented small houses. My parents told me money was tight. They said we had to be careful. When I wanted new shoes, they said next time. When school trips came up, they said maybe later. I learned not to ask. I thought that was just life. Now I knew it was not. I walked back inside slowly. The room was quiet now. The music had stopped. My grandfather was sitting straight, calm, like a judge. My father sat across from him, sweating. The envelope was still on the table, unopened. My grandfather looked at me. His eyes softened for a second. "Sit," he said gently. I sat down, my hands in my lap. He turned back to my father. "Open it." My father finally did. Inside were papers, many papers. He pulled one out, then another. His face kept changing, like he was watching something bad happen again and again. "That account was for her," my grandfather said. "Not for you, not for your wife, for her." My father's voice was small. "We borrowed it." I felt something snap inside me. Borrowed. You borrow sugar, you borrow a pen. You do not borrow someone's whole future. My grandfather's voice stayed calm, but the room felt cold. Borrowed implies you plan to give it back. My father did not answer. My mother sat back down, quiet now. She would not look at me. I stood up. My legs shook, but my voice came out clear. "How much is left?" The room froze again. My mother whispered, "Sit down." I did not. My father swallowed hard. "Not much." My ears rang. "How much?" My grandfather looked at him. "Answer her." My father closed his eyes. "Less than half." I felt dizzy. Less than half meant more than $2 million was gone. Gone on what? Houses I never lived in, cars I never rode in, trips I never took. My grandfather stood up slowly. "You had no right." My mother started crying. "We did it for the family." I laughed, but it sounded broken. "What family, me?" No one answered. The dinner ended without goodbyes. People left quietly, like they had seen something they were not meant to see. My grandfather told me to come stay with him for a while. My parents did not stop me. They did not hug me. They just watched me pack a bag. That night at my grandfather's house, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I felt sad, angry, confused, and empty all at once. But under all that, something new was growing. Focus. In the morning, my grandfather sat with me at the kitchen table. He told me the truth. He showed me records, dates, amounts, names. He said he had trusted my parents. He said that trust was broken. "There will be consequences," he said. I nodded. Later that day, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "We need to talk. Please come home. This is getting serious." I did not reply. Then another message came, this time from my father. "Do not listen to him. He is trying to turn you against us." My hands clenched. They were still lying. That evening, as the sun went down, my grandfather got a call. His face went hard as he listened. He hung up and looked at me. "They are trying to move the remaining money right now," he said. "Tonight." My stomach dropped. He stood up. "Get your shoes." I asked, "Where are we going?" His answer made my blood run cold. "To stop them." We drove through the night without music. The car felt heavy, like it was carrying more than just us. My grandfather's hands stayed steady on the wheel, but his jaw was tight. Streetlights passed over his face again and again, making shadows that came and went. "Where are they?" I asked. "The bank," he said. "One of them." I held my hands together in my lap. My mind kept racing. I thought about my mother's voice in the hallway. "Move what's left." Tonight, I thought about all the times I believed them when they said there was no money. All the times I felt small for wanting more. We pulled into the bank parking lot. Only a few cars were there. The building looked quiet and asleep, but I knew something bad was happening inside. My grandfather parked and turned to me. "No matter what happens," he said, "stay close to me." We went inside. The lights were bright and cold. A security guard looked up, surprised to see us so late. My grandfather walked straight to the desk and said my name. The guard hesitated, then picked up the phone. While we waited, I saw them. My parents. They were standing near an office door. My mother held her purse tight against her chest. My father was arguing in a low voice with a woman in a suit. When my mother saw me, her eyes went wide. She rushed toward me. "Why are you here?" she whispered. I looked at her and felt something strange. Not fear, not sadness. Control. "Because it's my money," I said. Her face crumpled. "You don't understand." My grandfather stepped forward. "She understands enough." The woman in the suit came over. "There seems to be a disagreement," she said carefully. My grandfather nodded. "Yes, and it ends now." He showed her documents, real ones, signed ones. I watched her eyes move across the pages. Her posture changed. She stood straighter. "This account," she said slowly, "does not belong to you," she told my parents. "It belongs to her." My father's voice broke. "We just needed time." "You had years," my grandfather said. My mother grabbed my arm. "Please," she said. "If this goes public, it will ruin us." I gently pulled my arm away. "You already ruined something," I said. "You ruined trust." The woman in the suit picked up the phone. "I need compliance and legal," she said. My parents looked at each other. Panic flashed between them. While the staff talked quietly, my grandfather leaned down to me. "This is not revenge," he said softly. "This is justice." I nodded, even though my chest hurt. After a while, the woman returned. "The transfer is frozen," she said. "No more money will move tonight." My mother gasped. My father sank into a chair. I thought it was over. It was not. A man in a dark jacket walked in fast. He spoke to the woman in the suit and handed her a folder. She opened it, then looked up at my parents with a different expression. "There's another issue," she said. My heart skipped. "What issue?" my father asked. The woman looked at me, then at my grandfather. "Some of the money was moved overseas months ago, to accounts not listed under family names." My mother's knees almost gave out. My grandfather's face went still. "How much?" The woman took a breath. "Enough to raise serious legal questions." I felt cold all over. This was bigger than I thought. The security guard stepped closer. The woman said the words slowly, clearly. "We are required to report this." My mother started crying loudly now. My father stood up too fast. "You can't," he said. "Please." The guard placed a hand on his shoulder. At that moment, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I looked down at the screen. It was a message from an unknown number. It read, "If you tell them everything, you will regret it." My breath caught. I looked up at my parents, and I realized this story was no longer just about stolen money. It was about danger. My phone felt heavy in my hand as I read the message again. "If you tell them everything, you will regret it." I slipped the phone back into my pocket and tried to keep my face calm. My grandfather noticed right away. He always noticed. "What is it?" he asked quietly. "Later," I said. I did not want my parents to hear. I did not want them to know I was scared. The bank staff asked us to sit in a small room. The walls were white. The lights buzzed softly. My parents sat across from me, not close enough to touch, not far enough to escape. My mother kept crying. My father stared at the floor like it might open up and swallow him. A man in a dark suit came in. He spoke slowly and clearly, using words I did not fully understand. Investigation, records, reporting requirements. He said my name many times. Each time it felt strange, like my name now meant something powerful. My grandfather put a hand over mine. "You are doing the right thing," he said. I nodded, but my stomach hurt. The man asked questions. "When did you first learn? Did anyone threaten you? Do you know where the money went?" I hesitated at that last one. My mother looked up at me fast. Her eyes were red and wide. She shook her head a little just once, a warning. I remembered the message on my phone. I remembered being 9 years old, pretending I was not hungry so my parents could eat. I remembered walking past stores and telling myself I did not need what other kids had. I remembered trusting them. I took a deep breath. I heard my mother say they were moving what was left, I said, and the money went overseas. My mother let out a sound like she had been hit. The man wrote everything down. We left the bank late that night. The air outside felt cold and sharp. My grandfather put his coat around my shoulders. I did not even notice I was shaking until then. On the drive back, no one spoke. When we reached his house, I went straight to bed. I thought I would not sleep, but I did. I slept hard, like my body needed rest after holding too much fear. I woke up to shouting. Voices downstairs, loud, angry. I jumped out of bed and ran to the stairs. My grandfather was in the living room, standing very still. Two men were there with him. They wore serious faces. One of them held a badge. "What's happening?" I asked. My grandfather turned to me. "They came to ask more questions," he said calmly. The men asked me to sit. They asked about the message. I showed them my phone. They took it to copy the number. "Do you know who sent it?" one asked. I shook my head. My grandfather spoke up. "This has gone far enough. She will not be threatened." The men nodded. After they left, my grandfather locked the doors. He checked the windows. I had never seen him do that before. "You stay here today," he said. "No school." "Are we in danger?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he told the truth. "Possibly." The day passed slowly. I stayed inside. I watched the yard from the window. Every car that drove by made my heart jump. In the afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Another message, same unknown number. "You think you've won. You haven't." I showed my grandfather. His face hardened. That evening, just as the sun was setting, the doorbell rang. My grandfather did not answer it right away. He looked through the window. Then he stepped back. "Stay behind me," he said. He opened the door. My parents stood there. But they were not alone. Behind them was a man I had never seen before. He was tall. He wore a dark coat. His eyes were cold and focused, not scared like my parents. He smiled at me. And then he said my name. When the man said my name, my heart almost stopped. He said it slowly, like he already knew me, like I was just another problem to solve. My grandfather stepped in front of me at once. "You are not welcome here," he said firmly. The man smiled again. "I'm only here to talk." "No," my grandfather replied. "You're here to scare a child." My parents looked small behind him. My mother was crying again. My father would not look at me. The man raised his hands a little. "Let's all calm down. This has gone too far." I felt something change inside me at that moment. I was tired of being quiet, tired of being scared, tired of adults making choices for me and calling it love. "I know who you are," I said. Everyone turned to look at me. The man's smile faded just a bit. I kept going. "You help people hide money. You move it to other countries so it can't be found easily." My grandfather looked at me in surprise. I had not told him that part yet. "I heard my mother on the phone," I said, "and I read the messages. You're the one sending them." The man's eyes hardened. "You should be careful what you say." I did not look away. I already sent everything to the investigators. That was a lie. But it worked. The man took a step back. My parents both gasped. "You what?" my father said. My grandfather understood right away. He placed a hand on my shoulder. The man looked at the house, then at the street, like he was thinking fast. "This is a family matter," he said. "There's no need to make it worse." "You already did," I said. "You helped them steal from me." My mother dropped to her knees. "Please," she cried. "I was trying to protect us." I looked at her, really looked at her. "You protected yourself," I said softly. Sirens sounded in the distance. The man's face changed completely. He turned and walked fast down the steps. He did not look back. My parents stood frozen as flashing lights filled the street. The police arrived. Questions were asked. Statements were taken. The man was stopped 2 blocks away. Everything came out after that. The overseas accounts, the fake names, the lies that had been building for years. In the weeks that followed, the truth spread like sunlight into dark places. The remaining money was returned to me, not all of it, but enough. My parents faced consequences, real ones. They lost their freedom, their reputation, and the lies they hid behind. I did not cheer. I did not smile. I just felt quiet. I stayed with my grandfather. He helped me open a new account. This one had my name on it, only my name. One afternoon, we sat on the porch together. The sky was clear. Birds were singing. "I'm sorry," he said. "I should have checked sooner." I shook my head. "You taught me something important," I said. "What's that?" I thought for a moment. "That money can be stolen," I said, "but truth always comes back." He nodded. I went back to school. I made plans. I learned to trust myself. Some days were still hard. Some nights I still felt angry, but I did not let it control me. I used part of the money to help other kids who had been lied to. Kids who were told they were worth less than they really were. And on my next birthday, my grandfather raised his glass again. This time, he smiled at me. Not because of money, but because I had taken back my life. Truth always comes out. If this story moved you, like, comment, and subscribe for the next chapter.